you to all of you for being here tonight. Please bear with me. My voice is a little bit out. I've been working very hard, making a lot of phone calls, and anyways, it's finally getting better, but if you'll just please bear with me. I'm very glad to be here tonight. I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here on this important issue. Many of you know me. I grew up here in Orange County. I've lived here in Orange County most of my life. I went to school here, as did my wife, and my wife is here in the back, Jennifer. This is where we've made our home all our lives. This is where we want to raise our family. As a matter of fact, we're expecting our first child at the beginning of May. As many of you know, I've worked for the Sheriff's Department for about 16 years. I work patrol. I patrolled a lot of the unincorporated areas of the county, Sunset Beach, Rossmore, Santa Ana Heights. All of those areas are in the 2nd Supervisorial District. And that gave me a great perspective, getting to know the people, the issues, and even the roads and infrastructure of our county. And also worked in the jail. This gave me a great perspective on some of the major functions that our county provides. Also served 2 terms on the Costa Mesa City Council, 3 terms as mayor. Also served on the Orange County Transportation Authority for 4 years, giving me a lot of good insight on our roads and infrastructure and issues related to that. I currently represent the 74th Assembly District, and that district that I currently represent now, combined with the area prior to redistricting, includes about 60% of the supervisorial district. So I've had a good working relationship with the people in the community for a long time. During the time on the city council, many of you know, I took a strong stand on various issues. Illegal immigration was one of them. I put forward a policy that made it possible for our local law enforcement to work with ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement. As a result of that, 1,300 criminals were removed from Costa Mesa. Costa Mesa was made safer because of that. Thank you. I appreciate that. As a result of that, and some circumstances that came up because of that, I was sued in federal court by the ACLU. I've paid the price. I know what it's like to take a strong stand on an issue and fight for my community. Some of you have asked me about a letter I signed in Sacramento advocating for reform, and I've had opportunity to speak with some of you individually, and I appreciate your concerns. I appreciate you talking with me about that. I want to make it very clear tonight, I do not support amnesty. Both of my parents, thank you. Both of my parents immigrated here to this country legally. My dad came from Egypt, my mother came from Sweden. Jennifer, my wife's mother, came from Vietnam. On her dad's side of the family, they came from Croatia and Lithuania. We support legal immigration. We support the rule of law. The only reason I signed that letter, it was done a little bit in haste, but I signed it to say I support reform, that the system is broken. Our borders are broken. They need to be secured. In no way would I ever support someone cutting the line or getting some type of overnight citizenship. We need to reform the system for those that are also coming here legally. That system is broken. We also need to do something that I set the example on. We need to deport people that are committing crimes. There's absolutely no reason, if someone's committing a burglary or a robbery, that they should be allowed to stay here in this country. One of the other issues I took a strong stand on was union dues. I know I've told this to this group before, but maybe some of you are new. I supported Prop 75, which was paycheck protection. Basically what that did is it said union dues cannot be used for a political purpose without someone's permission. When I worked for the Sheriff's Department, my dues went to political purposes that I did not agree with. Prop 75 said that could no longer take place. You had to get permission first. During that campaign, we used a quote from Thomas Jefferson. He said, to compel a man to furnish funds for the propagation of ideas he disbelieves and abhors is sinful and tyrannical. Why should I take your money without your permission and use it for a political purpose that you disagree with? And the answer is that I should not. Nobody should. But that's what they're trying to do. I was one of the signers on that ballot initiative. In the legislature, I put forward legislation to address pension reform. Those are all fighting issues, fighting words to the left and to the unions. And because of those issues, I've paid the price. They've come after me in every election, but I've been willing to take a strong stand on those issues. At the local level, and more recently, I've worked with the corridor cities, the cities along the 405 freeway, and the mayors to take a strong stand against the toll lanes. Those toll lanes, the people that were advocating for them wanted to use Measure M funds, which the voters approved, that half-cent sales tax, to improve our roads and infrastructure, and that's a good thing. But then they wanted to use that money to put in toll lanes and tax you again to use it. They wanted to charge you upwards of $15 to use those toll lanes. Not only charge you $15, but use Measure M money, your tax dollars, to tax you again, and those toll lanes would have had limited access. So I worked with the mayors and the corridor cities, and we stopped the toll lanes on the 405. Now, that took a lot of work. We didn't just say, please stop the toll lanes. They don't listen to that. We had a website. We had a Facebook page. We gathered signatures, and it was a grassroots effort. That's how we've been able to affect change and improve our community. Now, tonight you're going to hear from the person I'm running against, Michelle, and we're going to have similar beliefs on business issues. And quite frankly, that really only satisfies the minimum requirement to be a county supervisor. That's expected of us here, especially in Orange County, to be pro-business. I think we are both going to be pro-business. But being a supervisor is much more than that. I'll give you a couple examples. Right now, if you've been reading in the paper, Cal Optima is, some of their programs are being investigated by the feds. It's basically a county-run management of Medi-Cal. They're being investigated by the federal government because some of their programs have been mismanaged. The Orange County Fire Authority has collected inspection fees from businesses but provided no inspection. That's been in the paper too. These are things that the county supervisors have jurisdiction over. There are many boards that you sit on as a county supervisor. The toll lanes, that issue is not over. The alternative that went forward allows for another lane at some point in the future. There's no guarantee that it won't be a toll lane, so we have to be vigilant on that issue. I'm going to be continuing to fight on that. I'm going to continue to fight much-needed pension reform. I'm going to continue to be accessible. My door has always been open to each and every one of you. I'm trying to think how I want to put this. You know, being in politics, being in public office has been an interesting experience, to say the least. But it's been amazing to be able to serve my community and to get to know so many of you over the years. And I am very grateful for that. And my wife Jennifer is grateful for that. My door is always open to each and every one of you. If you ever have concerns, it always has been open and always will be. And I humbly ask for your vote and your support in the June primary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Allan. We probably have a couple of questions that would be asked. I'd like to start out with one, if I may, since I have the microphone. I would like to know, do you think taxes are too high for Orange County residents?
Yes, absolutely. California is one of the highest tax states in the country. I mean, we have gas tax, income tax, federal tax. Not to mention, I mean, how many taxes are there? I mean, there's a whole list. There's probably hundreds of them if you really look at it. We are overtaxed. We're overregulated. That's why businesses are leaving our state. And I think on business issues, you know, Michelle and I probably are going to be eye to eye on a lot of things, but there's a lot of oversight issues that are needed at our county level. Another thing I wanted to mention, in Sacramento, I'm on the Joint Legislative Audit Committee, and we authorize audits of agencies, as an example, that may or may not be complying with how they're administering funds. So I'm not afraid to support audits. We need to take a look at ourselves. I'm not afraid to support audits at the county level. We need to take, but basically, it's not just taxes that are too high. We need accountability and transparency as well.
Is there any specific area where you could see yourself sitting on the diocese and saying, we need to reduce taxes in a specific area, or do you say generally across the board that that's what your interest is?
You know, I want to attract businesses. I want to attract people who want to live here, whether it's a property tax or a business tax. The lower the better. The more people are going to be likely to want to live here and do business here.
Is Prop 13, in your view, something that should be maintained or removed?
I will do everything I can to maintain Prop 13 as is and not undermine it. It was put in place by the voters of California. The legislature does currently have a two-thirds majority that may be willing to vote to put it on the ballot. The saving grace is it would have to go before you, the voters. So it really depends on the voters of California. But the Democrats do have the majority. If they choose to put it on the ballot, then it would have to be voted on by the people.
Question?
Oh, God, just,
No, we're going to go through the, 3 people have asked about benefits, so why don't you ask?
Okay, we've already discussed legalizing the status of those who are here illegally. I think we've already spoke to that, so.
What about benefits?
Oh, and should they be eligible to receive government benefits?
No, I don't support that. As a matter of fact, we need to reform our welfare system in general, even those that are here legally. I think there needs to be more encouragement for people to get back to work. I don't think it should be something that people rely on long term.
Okay, if the letter that you signed clearly advocates for amnesty, why is it now that you claim you just wanted reform? Is this not a blatant flip-flop? Comes from our audience.
I appreciate that. I do not support amnesty. You know, you can read a letter and people can look at it differently. In retrospect, could have been worded differently. Okay, maybe. But I do not support amnesty. I've been very clear. Show me anyone in the room who's willing to do what I did on the city council level and be sued in federal court by the ACLU. I've taken strong stands. I've put my money where my mouth is. I do not support amnesty. I support legal immigration, and I would never support anyone just getting some type of automatic citizenship or amnesty. Our system is broken. Anybody who can look at it can see that. Our borders need to be secured. We need to reform the system for legal immigration. I have complete respect for anyone who has come here legally. If someone is coming here illegally and continues to break our laws, I've shown that I support that they should be deported. 1,300 criminals, burglars, robbers, drug offenses, weapons charges, you name it, the whole range of crimes. I took a strong stand for that, and the safety of the public was increased when I was on the city council.
4 of the questions that came in were on the illegals receiving some form of benefits. I think you answered that. So it seemed to be a strong interest in the audience regarding that. New question, you are currently in a safe assembly seat. That is, you would most likely be reelected. Why are you leaving the assembly to run for Orange County Supervisor?
I appreciate that. Yes, I could have run for reelection to state assembly. I could have done 2 more years. It probably would have been a pretty easy reelection. Someone else was going to run for county supervisor from the local level, a former mayor in another city. They chose to drop out, to not run. Therefore, the only other person running was Michelle. I was concerned that she had only been here for a couple years. I wanted someone with strong ties to the community. As I mentioned, I grew up here. Worked for the Sheriff's Department for 16 years, City Council for 8 years, 4 years on the Transportation Authority, and I've represented about 60% of the supervisor district already in the state legislature. I want someone who knows Orange County, and that is why I'm choosing to run for county supervisor.
Why don't we do online voting?
You know, if there's a way to make voting a little easier for people, sometimes there are unintended consequences as a result of something. I want accountability. I fully support showing a valid driver's license or form of ID to vote. Many people have fought and died for that right to vote. So I do not want to do anything that will facilitate fraud. Thank you. Sometimes certain things sound good. Maybe it is a good idea. I'd have to do more research on it, but I do not want any type of fraud involved in voting.
Could you please share with us your positions on school vouchers?
I think it'd be a good idea. I think we need school choice. I think we need school vouchers. I think, quite frankly, our schools are run by the public employee unions. Public employee unions put themselves first. They do not put the kids first. Yes, I support vouchers and many other ways to open up educational choice.
I think maybe the last one, Ellen, I know you got to move on, but thank you for sharing. But this last one is the Obamacare and how it affects us in Orange County. ACA is putting more people on Medi-Cal. How is the county going to pay for it?
That's a good question. You know, to pay for things, we need to reduce regulation. We need to draw people to our communities. People are being discouraged by the overregulation, the overburdensome regulation, the higher taxes. They're going to other states like Texas. Quite frankly, what we need in this country is an awakening. We need a lot of things to be done differently in our state. This is you asked to get directly to the question, how are you going to pay for it? You have to make hard choices. I've made hard choices as a city councilman. I've made hard choices as a legislature. But being involved in my community, being a part of it, having access to me and me having access to you, helps me with those issues. We need to improve the business climate, no doubt, but we also have to cut waste. I've mentioned several things tonight where accountability needs to be brought in. I think that's a good place to start. In terms of specifically addressing Obamacare, that is a federal issue. I'm running for county office. I think the only answer really on how to pay for that, ultimately I don't think you can, because it's collapsing our system. It's making more working people pay for those that are not working. We have to become more self-sufficient. That's the only long-term way to pay for these things. You can't just put these free programs. There's no such thing as a free program. And so I hope that answers the question. So other than that, I'll just say thank you so much. Forgive me for my voice being out. I'm very grateful to all of you, and I humbly ask for your support in June. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much. Yeah, let's go.
No, I appreciate the opportunity to come back up. You know, I have a track record, and when you're in public office, you make choices, you make votes. I have a track record in Costa Mesa. I have a track record in the state legislature. I have a track record of fighting for you. You know, you want to talk about illegal immigration, I have been through the fire. I can restate what I said already. I support upholding our laws. I do not support amnesty. I support legal immigration. I have never supported any tax increases. My record is clear on that. I have the votes to prove it. There's a lot to managing a county, managing a city. Decisions have to be made. We need oversight on the issues. Cal Optima, Orange County Fire Authority, Orange County Transportation Authority. When you're an Orange County Supervisor, you sit on numerous boards. We're going to be similar on business issues. That's a given, being a Republican in Orange County. That's expected of us. But the difference is knowing Orange County, having grown up here, having lived here most of my life, I believe that gives me additional insight into how the county works. And I'd be honored to take any questions that you may have. I'm very grateful for your support. Thank you very much.